Hold your head as high as you can, high enough to see who you are, little man.
What is your present vocation and what are your future aspirations in the field of education?
Black hole,
Currently, I am a classroom teacher. I have over 20 years of experience as a science teacher. I also have experience teaching abroad. Eventually, I would like to return to the expat life and eventually perhaps teach on the collegiate level. Over the course of my career, I have been a department chair, a team leader, and held other leadership positions in the school. Um, my time abroad was very brief, but it was very enlightening. I was totally immersed in a culture that is not very similar to mine. I learned a lot, and hopefully, I embarked that same spirit of openness to my students in my daily teachings.
don't get burned. Not necessarily everyone will know your words. No, no, no.
How do you describe your own nationality, race, ethnicity, and culture? How do others in your present environment describe your nationality, race, ethnicity, and culture? I describe myself as a black American. As far as ethnicity and culture, my family is traditionally Creole, originating in Louisiana in the mid 1850s. Our surname was established by my great grandfather, Samuel Fullmighter Sr. He was born in the mid to late 1850s. We are unaware of what their original name was. According to the census records, our family was listed as mulatto. Mulatto is an obsolete term used to describe persons with one white parent and one black parent. How do you describe the nationality, race, ethnicity, and culture of local schools where you live? The schools where I live are a diverse mixture of Hispanic and Black culture. We have a number of students from several different Hispanic speaking or Spanish speaking countries, including El Salvador, Mexico, Cuba, and several other places. This summer, I had an opportunity to travel to Cuba and be totally immersed in a culture unlike my own. Cuba was a very nice place. The people there were very friendly. There's a lot of culture there. Since they are an isolated island, you could tell that there were not a lot of outside influences. With the American embargo being in place for over 50 years, you could also tell that they have not been totally saturated with a lot of commercial things. It was a very enlightening and eye-opening experience. How are your perceptions similar to or different from those of others at that school? My perceptions are similar to my students' perceptions in the sense that I grew up in the same neighborhood. I face some of the same situations that my students face on a daily basis. As far as differences, I've had an opportunity to travel the world. I've had an opportunity to experience some things that some of my students may never experience. With that, I feel that I have an advantage over some of my counterparts that may have not grown up in the same environment. It is important that we establish relationships with students. With me facing some of the similar things, I think that we understand each other, and it has made me a better teacher. How have your experiences and social ethnic background influenced your perceptions, attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors about persons from backgrounds different from yours? Fortunately, I have had opportunity to travel abroad, to live abroad, and to be exposed to different things and different people for a great deal of my life. So I feel like those experiences have shaped my perception about other people, other cultures, and I'm pretty open minded. I understand that we are all one race, and our diversity is what makes us great. What has been the impact of racism in your life, and how might your personal perceptions impact teaching or leading in diverse settings? What has been the impact of racism in my life? Racism has been pretty covert in my 47 years. Uh, it was not until the election of the current president that more overt acts of racism have been presented to me. I have been dealing with microaggressions for a long time. I have faced several issues or instances where I've been warned about my tone or about my volume or being confrontational. All of those things that are used to describe the angry black woman, um, which is a perception that we see quite often on TV, portrayed in media, movies, on the news, and things like that. How do these stereotypes impact us in schools, or our perceptions about leading diverse students? For me, because I am a part of that stereotype, um, I try my best to model being of good behavior, being strong without being um, intimidating, or without getting angry for my girls. I see their attitudes sometimes, and so I make it a point to pull them to the side and have a personal talk with them. Relationships are very important to establish. I don't tend to have a lot of discipline problems or attitudes in my classrooms, and I think it's because they understand that I understand how they feel. So I hope that I'm equipping them with the tools that they need to be successful and to dispel these myths, because we are not all of us are angry, and we need to overcome that. How can you develop the knowledge, consciousness, and vision that are essential to leading efforts to create more inclusive, just, and healthy communities in diverse schools? To begin, we must start with courageous conversations. We will never be able to get over our discrepancies if we don't have conversations with each other. We have to be open and honest about how we are feeling. We have to ask critical questions. The only way to understand what other people are feeling is to listen to them. And then we have to have a decisive plan about how we're going to overcome these obstacles. Every plan must be checked, so there will have to be safeguards put into place to make sure that our efforts are equal, they're inclusive, and that they involve all stakeholders. It is imperative that we do it for society's sake.